Art is the universal language. What I love about communicating engineering ideas, it's really the process of finding the art and communicating the art and getting that connection to inspire them to appreciate the engineering even more.
Hello, I'm Sue Nelson, and thanks for joining me on Create the Future, a podcast brought to you by the Queen Elizabeth Prize for Engineering. My guest today is the innovation lead for the international engineering company Lang O'Rourke. She's also a role model for women and engineers of colour and received an MBE in the Queen's 2020 New Year's Honours List for her services to engineering innovation and diversity in STEM. Yewande Akinola got her degree in engineering design and appropriate technology from the University of Warwick, as well as a Master's in Innovation and Design for Sustainability from Cranfield University, while working at Arup as a design engineer concentrating on water management systems. She's a visiting professor at the University of Westminster, has won the UK Young Woman Engineer of the Year, and has been honoured with the Exceptional Achiever Award by the Association for Black Engineers. And if, like me, you think this makes her sound like a little bit of a superhero, you'd be right, because Yewande has also been represented in cartoon form as an engineering superhero. So I began by asking her how this fun and rather wonderful tribute happened.
That was Google Arts and Culture. So they were working on a really cool project to celebrate scientists and really celebrate the role of science and engineering in the built environment. And what they did was to select some really, really cool scientists and engineers as part of telling the story of the role science and engineering plays in our environment. And I was asked to I was asked to be part of it, really coming from the angle of water and water consumption in our built environment, where water goes, how we deal with shortage of water, and how we deal with too much water. It was great fun.
Yeah, it's a fabulous depiction. And I must admit, because you're British, but you were born in Nigeria, I couldn't help but think of Princess Shuri from Black Panther. I'm not the first person to say that, am I?
No, no, you're not. She's brilliant. When Black Panther came out, I was so excited about it. I mean, for the first time, I was literally, kind of connecting on so many levels with a character on the big screen. And just seeing other young people as well connecting with this character that's, like extremely intelligent, like extremely brave, like zero stereotypes as well, really playing a role in, ensuring that her people were well, her community was well, defending her community as well, including all the cool gadgetry. That was really amazing, and obviously linked into the story of the Black Panther himself. Really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm white and I felt seen as well. That's a thing. I just love the whole depiction of women there. And as you say, particularly women who normally we often think with like James Bond, it's
Mm,
Q.
mm,
It's a man
yeah.
who's in charge of all the cool gadgets. So, obviously that's something that really appeals to you and this sense of community. And you've done a lot of work that's involved projects where you've really helped with water and sanitation. Where does that desire to help communities come from?
I grew up in Nigeria, and I guess anybody who's lived in Africa really would appreciate the sense of community. Your business is everybody else's business, and everybody else's business is your business. And I grew up in, communities where I could see the direct impact of, good infrastructure as well as the lack of infrastructure. And I remember as a kid, there were times we wouldn't have, water flowing through our taps and would have to think of where to get water from. And that stuck with me, it really stuck with me because it was the process of, coming up with a solution to a problem. For a long time, I wanted to study architecture because I was really inspired by some really cool architects around me, some really cool buildings around me. But just as I started to think about university and what I was going to study, my mom kind of rekindled the engineering passion stroke interest in me by suggesting I considered engineering. And I think it just happened that the fact that I was on an engineering degree program that had a massive bias towards developing countries, that helped me go back to the place where I really wanted to work on projects that had a direct impact on people's lives. And so I worked with Thames Water, and I took a year out between my second and my third year at university. And then when I graduated, I went back into the water solutions industry with Arup, and it just grew and grew from there.
And while you were at Arup, you decided to do your masters.
Yes, yes. And it's a story that, I think I'm going to be telling my grandkids forever and ever, because it really came about because I was being mentored by the most incredible creative. My boss, David George, was, he spoke through sketches. Whenever a problem landed on his desk, he didn't just rush to just, get a solution together. He thought about why the problem existed. He thought about, what we could do to make sure the problem never came back. He thought about creative ways of designing a solution. And when the solution did not exist in a product, he encouraged us to create the product. And so I had this wonderful, fresh, creative, learning in the first few years of my career. And then I just became thirsty, there was that thirst for more knowledge, for, a wider breadth in terms of my perspective. And then I found this really cool program at Cranfield. It was titled Innovation and Design for Sustainability. And when I saw it, I just thought, wow, innovation, design, sustainability, my favorite words. And so I asked my boss if I could enroll on this program, and he was so supportive. The company was very, very supportive, and I did it over 2 years. There were some late nights and long train journeys, but it was absolutely worth it.
And when you finished that, was that the thing that made you think, right, this is going to determine the sort of projects I want to work on in future?
Exactly. There were several light bulb moments, when I just kind of thought, wow, the only way I'm going to be able to sustain my interest and passion, in engineering and for engineering is if I can see the direct impact of, the work that I'm doing on society, if I can see my career as just not a career, but an opportunity to constantly express creativity. And so I just decided, and actually, I still have to kind of get back into that mind frame every so often. But then I decided that I would, work in projects, whether they were big projects or whether they were small projects, but projects where I could, learn, I could push on the boundaries of my capabilities, I could meet interesting people, projects that would expose me to other cultures of the world. And it's been an incredible journey since. It really has, working on projects in different parts of the world, and really having confidence and faith in the idea of creativity and innovation.
So give me an example of a project abroad that has incorporated all of these aspects.
The project that comes to mind, and also really because it really pushed me, you know? It really pushed me out of my comfort zone, is a project I worked on in China. Just stunning water park hotel resort in southern China with dolphin stadiums and lazy rivers, super high rise building, sustainable elements inbuilt in terms of the water consumption and the water reuse, best use of solar energy as well. And I moved out to China because I was really fascinated by the work that was happening there. And when I did, I I couldn't speak Mandarin. I could barely use chopsticks. I had I didn't know what the local, regulations were. And so when I landed, there was a very, very steep learning curve. And then I was asked to work on this project with architects from the US, with architects and engineers from the UK, and the incredible designers in China, working with the clients who were based in the UAE. And this combination of, first of all, global cooperation, towards a combined vision for a sustainable, exciting water resort stroke, hotel, was absolutely amazing. I learned so much. And now when I go on the website for the hotel and see the videos and see people really experiencing the space, people from all over the world really experiencing the space, it really, it really, really puts a big, massive smile on my face, and it makes me feel, to every extent, a global citizen, purely and mainly through my career as an engineer.
That's really interesting as well in terms of bringing forth some of the skills that you need as an engineer when you're working on projects and working abroad, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's that cultural reference and knowledge and the practicalities, as you say, of knowing, well, what are the planning laws here, what are the certain restrictions here,
yeah.
as well as eating, language, everything. It's the whole sort of package, really.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we need to kind of really enjoy. Well, I try to do that as an engineer, recognizing I'm an engineer, but that comes with, great excitement. It comes with culture, it comes with art, music as well, and just seeing all the different elements that, contribute to the profession in its entirety.
I know that you've worked on projects in Africa as well and the Middle East. Have you ever had the opportunity to work in Nigeria?
Do you know what? I haven't worked on a large project in Nigeria. I've done quite a bit of consultancy work in Nigeria. I worked with a great team here at De Montfort University, led by a really amazing guy called Dr. Muyiwa Oyinlola, to develop, sustainable solutions for building low cost housing. And he had been researching the reuse of plastic bottles as building material, for homes in rural Nigeria. And it was such a joy to work with him developing this solution. So I worked as part of the design team, trying to work out how we could collect water as well, trying to work out how we would stack and fill the bottles. And then he and a fantastic team, with his students, went out to an area just outside Abuja, which is the federal capital city, and built a mock-up of their solution, of the solution. I've done a lot of consultancy work, just advising organizations, working with young people as well, to inspire them, to share knowledge with them. And do you know what? I'm really hopeful for the day that I can work on a, big, massive infrastructure project. I've got my fingers and toes crossed. I know it will happen. The question is when.
I've actually seen that video. I'm pretty sure I've seen that video
Oh, great.
with the plastic bottles filled with earth. I think that
Yes.
they and then making a house. I remember it because it was so simple,
Mhm.
and yet in the sort of way as with most good ideas, you just think, why didn't somebody think of this before? This is brilliant,
Yes.
and I didn't realise that you were involved in that. So that's wonderful. That's really cool. I love the fact that you've described yourself as an engineer, innovator, and dreamer.
Mm,
Where
yes.
does the dreaming come into your career?
The dream is me staying true to, everything that inspired me as a child. I remember as a child, there was a song that just kind of stuck in my head, and one of the lines from it was, "Come with me into this, place of pure imagination." I'm not sure I've got the exact words, but da 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 da. I'm not going to sing. "Come with me to this place of pure imagination," but and that has been, one of the things that has just kept me curious and kept me thinking of what is possible. And even when times have gotten really hard and it's been difficult to see, beyond what is in front of me, I've always found hope and, encouragement in imagining what is possible. And I think for us as humans, right, we all need something to hold on to. We all need that dream of possibilities. And I've seen dreams come to life. I've seen them become reality. And I don't want to let go of that.
Must be a
You
nice
know?
feeling,
Yeah.
yes. You know the hard work that's gone into it, but
Mm,
also, like you
mm.
say, it is like the realization of a dream, and that's a rather a wonderful feeling. Now, you gave an example of the China project, which sounds creative and interesting on so many levels. What's been a project for you that has sort of fulfilled a dream in terms of sustainability for you, or where you've done something where you feel, my goodness, I've made a real difference here to people's lives?
Wow. That's a question that's really challenging my my I guess my
You can have
imposter
several answers, of course.
syndrome. um do you know, I think more recently I'm grateful for the role that I've played on hospital projects.
Would this be the Grange University Hospital
Yes,
in
yes,
Wales?
yes, yes, yes. I'm grateful for my role there. I'm grateful for my role in another hospital project in Brighton, working with really incredible people as well.
I better explain here that the Grange University Hospital is huge. It's the first major hospital to be built in Wales in more than 20 years. What's it, 471 beds, most of them en suite facilities. I mean, that's a big project, but I've not heard about the Brighton one. So explain what the Brighton Hospital
Yeah,
project is.
it's a very similar one. I guess with the Grange, it was a new project. And with the one in Brighton, what we did there was to, you know, build an extension to a fully operational hospital facility with some of the wards still in operation as we were extending parts of it. And actually, I was working on both of them about the same time. And what my role pretty much was to explore and be part of the design of, us being able to assemble the hospital, building parts of it in factories in controlled spaces. So we built the bathroom pods in controlled spaces in factories in this country, and really working to hospital specification to ensure we were providing, the cleanest, the safest bathrooms for the patients, ensuring that, we were designing and manufacturing bathroom pods that could be maintained quite easily throughout the lifetime of the hospital. And seeing it all come together, seeing, it go from design to procurement of materials, seeing supply chain involvement, seeing the guys in the factory work incredibly hard, assembling all these bathroom pods, ensuring that the finishes were to spec, and then delivering them to site as the buildings were kind of coming into themselves. Just amazing, really, really amazing. And now, the Grange is open, and I'm just very proud and very grateful for, for the opportunity to see something that's going to have an impact on people's lives come together very, very well.
That's great because, if you were to just say to somebody, "Oh, I've just worked on a sanitation project," it wouldn't get people's imagination as much in terms of how you've described what you've effectively done there. And this is key, really, isn't it? It's communicating what an engineer does. And it's something that you've become very good at because you've presented programs, TV programs that have ranged from the Discovery Channel to children's like CBBC. What have you learned from those experiences when it comes to communicating what an engineer's job does involve?
I think the one thing I've learned is to just simplify stuff.
Yes.
you know, where us as engineers, we delve into the complexities of everything. We have to delve into the complexities of the concepts that we employ to design whatever it is we're designing. And sometimes we communicate, at the level of the complexities. And actually, what we need to do is find the art in engineering. And the art is the universal language. Find that thing that everybody else can, relate to, they can see, they can feel. And that is what I love about communicating engineering ideas. It's really the process of finding the art and communicating the art and getting that connection between, society, people, the engineering, to inspire them to even appreciate the engineering even more.
You must have enjoyed being a judge on the Queen Elizabeth Prize
Mm,
the trophy
yes,
competition then,
yes.
because that brings in some beautiful artwork and design.
I really did. I really, really did. And actually, the cool thing about it was, seeing the art and also seeing the source of the art. And actually, what I really appreciated even more was the fact that these young people had come up with incredible designs, designs that capture geometry, capture storytelling, capture society, capture the future. Their interpretation of, what they thought the task was. And that was wonderful. It really, really, really was. It's something that would stay with me forever and ever and ever, I think.
Now you do a lot of things to communicate engineering to different audiences. I loved the Barbie Bee workshop because I think for some women, not all, but for me, a Barbie is a complete turn off. But I know that so many children and girls in particular do love Barbie dolls
Yeah.
and can see how it's a really important way to challenge the roles that women have. Because obviously, when that product started off, the Barbie dolls were just for fashion,
Yeah.
whereas now it's changed.
It has. I've got a 3-year-old daughter, and she loves Barbie. She She loves trains. She loves Barbie. She loves, just a wide range of stuff. And actually, this week at nursery, as part of her homework, she was asked to tell me what she wants to become when she grows up. Now, she's got a pilot Barbie, and her response was, Mommy, I want to become a pilot. I want to fly planes. I want to take people around the world. I want to see the world. And that for me was just accumulation of the best of all worlds, right? Because she's got this Barbie who is in a pilot uniform, right? And she travels, right? She's got, mom and dad, as engineers. She sees trains. She understands, that she can become a train driver as well. And I think, just really seeing the role that every single toy can potentially have in inspiring a young child is really powerful. Just changing the narrative where it needs to be changed, expanding the narrative of the toys where it needs to be expanded. And because children have lots of very different interests. So yes, I really enjoyed being part of that. I really did.
You're so right, because when I was young, there were two outfits that were very common for presents for children, particularly at Christmas or birthdays. And they were for fancy dress, and they were a doctor's outfit with a lab coat and a stethoscope, and a nurse's outfit. And the doctor's outfits were bought for the boys, and the nurses' outfits were bought for the
Wow.
girls.
Wow.
And now, of course, Barbie, you get astronaut Barbie,
Hmm.
you have a robotics engineer
Yes.
Barbie, you have a STEM kit.
Yes.
It is, and it's important. It's very important.
Yeah.
And what role did you play on that? It was a workshop, isn't it,
Yes.
with young children?
Yes, it was a campaign really to, inspire young children. And I was invited by Barbie. It was hosted by an incredible woman called Apuna, and I was joined by Mala Malkin, and we had all these wonderful children just really, holding on to every single word. And at the end of it, just hearing them feed back what they had heard, how their perceptions had changed, how encouraged they were, just made every single moment of it worth it. And I think actually we must create something that just brings that ripple effect. There's so many children that still need to hear that they can be anything they want to be. I still speak with, college students and students in year 10, 11 who feel they can't be, engineers, or they can't be mathematicians, and they can't be scientists. So there's still quite a bit of work to be done. And it really is for, organizations, companies to be part of changing the narrative.
Now, is this why also, in terms of changing the narrative, you set up something called our Ingenious
Mm.
World?
Yes. Yes.
Describe, for those who've not heard of it, describe exactly what it is.
Our ingenious world is something I've been, thinking of and working on and dreaming on of for a very, very long time. Um, you know, throughout, my work career so far, I've just and actually from experiencing different cultures and traveling the world, I'm just in awe of our world. I'm in awe of the talent and the hard work that has gone into creating a wonderful planet to live in. I'm also a bit, well, not the word is not discouraged, but a bit sad at the fact that there is still a lot of work to be done There's still young people who really should have access to education who don't. There's still people who really need to be spending their time with creatives and in great companies who don't have access to great companies and great training programs. And there's still people who need to hear this message and see this, vision of real life people who are changing the narrative. Anyway, so our ingenious world is a combination of all those different ambitions, in that where I'm hoping it would get to is a project that combines storytelling and really putting people who are doing incredible work in the faces of young people to inspire them. Over the summer, I ran a work experience week for over 100, well, actually 500 students applied from all over the world, and they all had access to the YouTube live streams. And then we worked with 100 students from 25 or so different countries to give them work experience and to expose them to industry and all the cool engineering stuff that's happening all over the world. So our engineers world is a series of projects. In short, it's just a series of projects to bring about tangible impact.
And you're not just showing, look, here are engineers, this is what we do. It's also trying to open people's eyes to their potential, their own
Absolutely.
potential.
Absolutely. Because that was the greatest thing I was given. David George, my mom, and actually the list goes on and on. My professor at university, my current mentors literally gave me the perspective stroke, vision stroke, insight to imagine that I could do it. To imagine and see that I could do it. I could be whatever I wanted to be. And when I think back on the journey, that was the best thing that they could have given me. Just sparking a yes I can, thing within me, and equipping me with the inspiration was literally the best thing any of them could give me.
So, would that be your advice to people who want to get into engineering, or who are currently engineers? Is if you don't have one, find yourself a mentor.
Yeah, absolutely. Find yourself that person who inspires you, who you can go to and, get all or as much encouragement as possible from. That person who would say, actually, you know what? Don't be so hard on yourself. This is how you do it. Take it in baby steps. This is how you connect it. You really have to be around people who inspire you. And if you currently don't have that, start to look for them because they're out there.
And you've been publicly recognised as well for your work in terms of an MBE. How did you feel about that when you found out?
I was in shock. I thought the letter was a letter from HMRC when it first came through my door.
You owed the money, yeah.
I was like, oh gosh, I hope I don't owe these guys any money anymore. But actually, it's been a year now, and I'm so grateful for the recognition. It's that, I guess, that welcome pat on the back that, you're doing okay, just carry on. And obviously, to whom much is given, much is expected. So there's that sense of you've been given, a lot in terms of encouragement. You really have to carry on doing the work to make sure that, other people as well have the opportunity to be creative, have the opportunity to see the satisfaction and feel the satisfaction that comes from, doing some really cool, fun stuff. So it's been quite cool. My mom has been, yeah, it's been really good for my mom as well because I'm just so grateful that she has that as well, because she sacrificed a lot and put a lot into raising my sister and I up. So it's a bit of a reward for her as well.
Well, I'm glad she's bathing in your glory. That's wonderful to hear. Yewande Akinola, thank you so much for joining me on the Create the Future podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Sue.